Hi, say hi if you're watching. I'd love to hear from you. It's a funky format. Really, I would rather love to invite you into my little office space and we could sit and we could drink some herbal tea together and talk about our power and our wisdom. That would be my preference. So I'm gonna pretend like that's what we're doing today. Um, Oh, guys, there's so much to tell you. I'm probably going to forget some stuff, but I want to start with some logistical things, and then post will come with all of these updates. But we are going to launch the Authentic Feminine event. So, the Authentic Feminine is the program that I run that's a hybrid group and one on one that supports businesswomen and women in leadership who also care about their marriage. So, we're working on our intimacy and our leadership and our sensuality and our spirituality all at one time, through masculine and feminine energy and tools of intimacy. So I am hosting an event. And, really, I had this big vision for this whole thing to happen last month. And then my life completely, life is funny that way, isn't it? When it just knocks you out and takes you to a different direction. So we're going to do the event this month instead. We'll have the official kickoff will be May 12th, and more details to follow around all of that. Also, I just wanted to give a huge thank you to everyone who sent me messages and love and support and words of encouragement for me and words of encouragement for my son Christopher. If you're watching, you're like, what are you talking about? My son Christopher had a little motorcycle dirt bike accident 2 weeks ago, and it's been really difficult. He's walking around with a walker right now, and so we're definitely still in the thick of recovery and that sort of thing. And my brain too, it has definitely felt I have had some PTSD, and so I'm hoping I don't have a lot of brain fog today. Bear with me. And if I get sidetracked and you're like, wait, you were going to tell us about this or that, then please put it in the comments and remind me so I come back to it. Okay. So the event, I want to give you a little bit more details about the event, and then we'll dive into our topic today. There is going to be so much happening in this next month. It's going to be so much fun. Of course, we've got this training today. The 12th will be the official kickoff. We're going to be encouraging you guys to share your stories and looking for ways that you are magic, and use the hashtag feminine magic and share stories with us, because it is so uplifting. I know that there are a lot of people that listen to my stories and read my emails and engage in my world, and probably the biggest feedback I get is that people love my stories, and they are feminine magic stories, right? That's what we love about these stories, is weaving in pieces that maybe are different, like lessons that you wouldn't necessarily have thought of in a masculine energy world. And that's the feedback I always get, is oh my gosh, I love these, because it activates something in you. You love the story because it reminds you of something that you already knew in yourself. That's why. I mean, sure, my stories are great and I'm a good storyteller and all of that stuff, and I'll toot my own horn. But also, that's the power of story, particularly when it comes to our feminine wisdom. So I would just love to see you guys shining and sharing your stories. And so, who does this pertain to? If you're listening and you're a business owner, and, whatever you want to share about transformations you've had that led you to start your business, share that. We would love to hear that. Maybe you have nothing to do with business and you want to tell us about how you've healed your life through sex. Tell us about that. We want to hear all of the things. Okay. This is the space. And so, you can get started to get the wheels turning. I want to get the wheels turning for you guys on all that. I'm hosting a virtual retreat on May 20th. More details to come on that, with a woman who's a stylist and a woman who's a health expert. And then me, supporting in the intimacy and relationship space, speaking specifically to CEO women. So that's going to be incredible. I think you're going to love that. And lots of things, all the things. Probably my most favorite thing about this whole event is the fact that I'm extending the bonus that I started to share about. And the bonus is that if you sign up for the Authentic Feminine and you come in and join us in the mastermind group and hybrid one-on-one program, you get an additional 2 months completely free. So it's a $2,222 value that you will receive completely for free. And that just feels so exciting to me. So let's let the magic roll and let's just call in lots more magic. Like, I would love to see you guys experiencing deeper intimacy in your relationships, deeper fulfillment and success in your businesses and your leadership experiences and in your families and in your homes. Okay, enough about that. Certainly, if you have questions, reach out. And like I said, more details to come on all of that. Today, I want to dive into your... Oh, I do have some comments. See, sometimes these comments work for me and sometimes they don't. And so hopefully, thank you, Dina. Can I just give you guys a little, like, I got these pants at Forever 21. Aren't they so cute? And they're like ribbed, you know? And so I was feeling very fancy today. Plus, this is probably the first day I've like truly gotten dressed in 2 weeks, helping my son. I've been wearing lots of yoga pants. So anyways, beautiful. Kristen just finished some hibiscus tea. And so hi guys, thanks for joining on. Hi Janelle. Hi Megan. I want to talk today about our wisdom and our power. And I had this powerful experience, the last Authentic Feminine, we call them authentic bliss circles when we gather as a group, and it's group style coaching. And one of the things, a new client had joined, and when she finished the call, she said, I hadn't realized how often I'm not showing up in my power in my marriage. And what she noticed was I was giving some different suggestions in some capacity. I don't exactly remember, but about, things you could potentially say to bring up something that was uncomfortable. And she found herself wanting to like write these things down. And she wanted to be like, wait, can you say it again? And we do this, right? And certainly there's no harm in any of that, because I do see a lot of patterns and I see strategies that tend toward more success and tend to have more successful outcomes and stuff. So there's nothing wrong with that. But she realized in that whole experience, like, wait a minute, like how often am I trying to say the perfect thing or, get the perfect outcome or whatever it is in her marriage. And she realized in that moment, Melissa doesn't know my marriage. She knows about marriage. Melissa doesn't know my intimacy. She knows about intimacy. I know my husband and my marriage better than anyone. Me and my husband, that's it. And so what's stopping me from just like taking this in and then trusting that when the moment arises, I'll know the thing to say? And it was a huge shift for her. I so appreciated that she shared it and that she was willing to allow me to share it with all of you. And I want you to just think now for yourself, how often am I showing up in my marriage in powerless ways? And it could look completely different than it did for her, right? I know that for me, one of the things that I'll do is wait for my husband to tell me to do something for myself. Like, even to the point of getting like all pouty and all like whatever, instead of me just being like, you know what? I need some time for myself. I don't even know what I'm going to do. I'll figure it out after I leave or whatever. I'll like wait for him and like, no one cares about me. Anybody relate? Anybody else do that? And then there's some, kind of more painful ones that we can tend to do. Years ago, when we first really began our journey, finances for us was a conversation we couldn't even have. And if you're not super familiar with my story, I'm not going to go into all the details. You can go read it on my website, www.melissakeenan.com. But at one point, my husband and I were separated for 6 months. And during the separation, I was in self-preservation mode, like all the way. I was just like, I have been battered and abused and hurt and offended and betrayed and just like at my absolute like pit. And I told my therapist that I had told my husband, I don't want to talk about finances. Let's just not talk about finances. And my therapist was this old man. He was very sweet, actually. He was lovely. And he looked me in the eye and he said, do you plan to recover this marriage? Is that the goal? And I was like, well, yeah, but I don't have control. I don't know, like, you know, whatever, right? Like, I was like, I don't know. I mean, of course, that's the goal. But he's like, okay, you plan to, like, that's the goal, right? And I'm like, yeah. And he said, are you going to have to talk about finances when you restore the marriage? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, then you need to keep practicing, keep talking about finances. And it was so painful. And I knew he was right. And, you know, maybe in anybody else's case, I'm not telling you that's the right or wrong thing to do. But in my case, I was like, he's absolutely right. We do need to keep talking about finances. I just wanted to avoid the hard stuff. Because what I had done and what I had created in my marriage was a lot of hiding. Like, you know, I would buy stuff at the grocery store and then I would pull out an extra bunch of cash and save it. And a lot of times I would just use it to pay bills that he like hadn't planned, right? We were very immature with our finances and just disorganized and didn't have like any systems in place. And so I would, you know, a lot of times I would use it for us, but it was still this pattern of like hiding things, hiding purchases. And then I had the cash if I needed it and I wanted to buy something for myself that I didn't want him to question me about. And I would do crazy things like avoid buying napkins because it was an extra expense that we could technically go without. Like I would do all of this stuff that he hadn't even asked me to do because I was just trying to avoid conversations about finances. I mean, that is a massive way that I see women showing up not in our power in our marriages. Oh, that was a little bit less comfortable. I won't ask you to raise your hand if you relate with that one, because these are just the things and what we don't recognize. And I think where, you know, being in a space like this, being in a space like the Authentic Feminine can really boost us is recognizing that not all of that is just because there's something wrong with us and we enjoy being deceitful or we enjoy being out of our power or that sort of thing. It's a co-creation with all the systems and things that are around us. Like we, for whatever reason, we have believed this is how we have to show up to survive. That's what I really want you to get from this today. Not like, oh crap. Like I do not resonate with shame marketing. I am not here to make you feel bad about who you are and who you're being. If anything, it's the opposite. I want you to recognize that, yeah, you know what? If I have been showing up not in my power or powerless, like what are the reasons? How can I approach myself with deep compassion around this? And where has that come from? Is it beliefs that have come from me? Has it come from my ancestry? Did it come from my upbringing? Did it come from my previous marriage? Did it come from other systems that I've said yes to? My religion, my, extended family, his family, like, where have these things come from that have put me in a place of feeling like this is the only way to show up? Because this is not, we're not here to make you feel bad. And that's, I think, where we go, don't we? Again, in this masculine energy society, it's very like it's your fault. Something's wrong with you. You should just have all of this stuff figured out. You shouldn't be showing up powerless in this day and age. That's like the masculine energy way, right? You shouldn't be showing up powerless in this day and age. And really, we do these things because we thought that's how we had to do it. Like, and maybe we weren't even consciously making the decisions. So my invitation is stop asking what's wrong with me and start looking at what are the systems, what are the beliefs, what are the outcomes that I don't enjoy, and how can I shift those? Okay, does that make sense? That land for everybody? What are the outcomes? How can I shift them? How can I shift the ones that I don't like? Because, you know, if we're really honest, we do these things maybe to keep the peace. We do these things to preserve the feeling in the relationship, to preserve, you know, maybe we do them to protect our husband. That's another big one that shows up with my clients. Is like, I gotta protect this man. I gotta, you know, treat him with gloved hands, kind of a thing. And we all of these different things that we show up with in our relationship. But at the end of the day, all of them end up as barriers to intimacy. Did you think about that? Like, probably we're doing it to try to maintain connections. We don't want to cause a fight or whatever. But in the long run, it's like adding bricks to the wall that's between us until the wall just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. I spoke with a woman recently who had been in a sexless marriage for 10 years. I mean, this stuff runs deep, right? This powerlessness. And it's just killed her for 10 years. And I spoke with another woman recently. She was in a marriage for 25 years, playing like good housewife, never fully happy, never fulfilled. And when she finally started working on herself, she realized she didn't even want the marriage. But 25 years, you know, we do these things. And when I talk to these women, I'm like, this is why I just I'm here beating the same drum, because this matters so much, right? So, what do we do? What do we do when we find ourselves showing up powerless? Maybe we're not even aware of it. What do we do when we recognize there's a lot of discomfort in the ways that we're showing up? And, you know, of course, we know, you guys hear me talk about this all the time, but this translates over into how you show up in your business and where you make compromises there. So what do we do so that we can be in our power? If we look to the world, you would think, okay, and I wrote a post about this earlier today. What is a powerful woman? And this is where I see women, like, they kind of wake up, right? Like, you know, 25 years, 10 years, all this pain. We wake up and we go, no more, right? And it's like, hear me roar. And there's nothing wrong with the roar. The roar is good. You heard me talk about that last month. The roar is good. But what we see in society is more disempowerment. I mean, is it really power to have to compete with men? Are we really in our power when we're chasing 3 million different social media platforms and likes and follows? Like, is it really power when we're using manipulation in our sales tactics and we're making people feel shame in order to buy stuff? Like, what happens is women go, oh, I want to support myself. I want to prove to myself that I can be in my power. I want to live in alignment. And then we go out and we put ourselves into a whole new world that it's like, oh, get ready, sister, because there's a whole nother plethora of facades for real women's power, right? And we talked a bit about this here in the group last week, where I had asked, like, what does it look like when you're not showing up in your power in your marriage, and what does it look like when you're not showing up in your power in your business? And it was really interesting to see how some of those overlapped, how some of those interplayed with each other, like not using my voice, not wanting to be seen, all of these things, or potentially bypassing my intuition, bypassing that gut feeling that tells me like something's wrong here, but I better just do the right thing, do the good girl thing. We find ourselves doing those things. We have two examples that suck. That's what we're faced with as women. And I think I have such a passion for this and like bridging this because I've lived every version. I was a stay-at-home mom for 9 years before I opened my business. Before I was a stay-at-home mom to 4 friggin' kids, I didn't want children. I was pursuing a degree as a medical doctor and got my bachelor degree all ready and gung-ho to get into medical school, and had a life shift and decided to start a family. Like, I've lived all these iterations, and I share that because I bet you have too. Like, we open our eyes and we're like, okay, like, I'm here. Who am I? And then we see these different examples and we think that looks like success. I'll be that. And then we get there and we're like, this doesn't feel like I thought it would feel, right? Whether that's the, Susie Homemaker or, Sally Boss Babe, whatever. All these different iterations of women. And the only thing that feels good is the authenticity. And that is why I named the program The Authentic Feminine. So what do? We have this example over here. We have the disempowered side of us, and then we have the empowered woman, right? And then we probably have, it's not as black and white as I'm making it sound, right? Because like there's probably areas in me where I'm like the disempowered girl, and then there's areas in me where I'm like, the boss bitch, and like roar, hear me roar, and all that stuff, right? And it's like different parts, all different parts. And what it calls for is stepping into wholeness, stepping into that authenticity. And so we need to drop into our wisdom, because past all the noise that surround us, that's outside of us, we have wisdom within us. We have our inner wise woman. And I've talked about this literally since I started speaking publicly about our inner wise woman. We also have our inner child, who is so full of power. Both of them together are like this power team of play and joy and receptivity, as well as power and courage and wisdom and, knowing things beyond our capacity to even know, right? All of that is within us. And that is why it's so important we surround ourselves with people, teachers, friends, colleagues, who understand that at the end of the day, I'm sovereign and I have to go within and do what's best for me. That's like so key. I mean, even, think about in business, who are the people that you have showing up in your email inbox? Who are the people you have showing up on your social media threads that you might not even realize how much they're affecting you when they're constantly telling you that because you're not on XYZ social media platform, you're not enough? Or because you don't have, XYZ number of email followers or subscribers, you're not enough. Or because your marriage doesn't look like XYZ thing, you're not enough. Like all of those voices, we've got to preserve ourselves. We've got to take a stand and say, no. That's where we use our fire. That's where we take our fire and we go, no, I'm not going to subscribe to that stuff. I'm not going to engage in that stuff. I'm going to do what's right for me. And I'm going to listen to people and surround myself with people who trust me, maybe even more than I trust myself for my own journey. Okay, so that's the first thing is, what are the things you're subscribing to that are telling you, making you constantly feel like you're not enough and making you lose your power? I asked a question in our Authentic Feminine group a couple of weeks ago. I said, what's your Achilles heel to your divine feminine? Like, what's that thing that every single time it shows up, it completely makes you forget who you are. And you all of a sudden find yourself showing up, you know, biting your nails and like all beside yourself, right? For me, I've been working lately on my husband's situation. Again, if you're new to me, I'm super open, and so maybe you don't know, but my husband's going through a lot of faith questioning, and just, I would probably call it depression. And it's hard, and he'll share stuff with me, which we've cultivated because we've cultivated intimacy. And then I like have to be able to like be with what he has shared with me without letting it like take me to the depths of despair and like inability to function. And so I've been, you know, that's been my practice the last several months is coming back to my own divine feminine. And maybe that's a concept you haven't considered before. I'm curious to hear in the comments if you've considered that before, that your divine feminine is you. It's you in your greatest wisdom, your truest and highest self, your divine self, however that aligns most for you, your divine feminine. So the thing I want to do with you next is take you through a little exercise to connect to that part of you. And maybe it's something that you're very familiar with. Maybe it's not. Maybe it'll be new. And this is a practice that you can come to again and again. And then once I finish with that, I want to do some intuitive card pulls for you guys. Okay, so before we do that, then let's drop into our own inner wisdom. That our wisdom is us tapping in and getting back into our power, right? That is true feminine power. It's just me acting in what I feel is the next best thing for me. It's very simple when you say it, but you know it's not so simple in practice, right? I mean, the reason that I run the coaching that I run and the groups that I run and everything is because I want to be steeped in this all the time, because I need the reminders too, because I live in the same world you live in. We need these reminders so that we are operating from our fullest self. And why does it make a difference? Because we feel better when we do, and it tends to create outcomes that we enjoy more in our life, in our marriage, in our business. So what is that key? Tapping into our wisdom. I think that wisdom is different than knowledge. And wisdom, to me, wisdom is the feminine energy counterpart to knowledge, which is the masculine energy counterpart. Knowledge is like, I can get smart. We're in the information age. There's lots of information. I can memorize a lot of information. I can know how to like work complex systems or work complex equations and things like that. I can read scientific articles. I can all of that sort of stuff. That's like knowledge. There's lots and lots over here in the knowledge side, but wisdom is from within. Wisdom is this beautiful principle of our truth. It is like tapping into the roots of a tree, where the roots are connected to all the other roots of the trees around them in this like ancient way of the things that matter most. The roots aren't sharing facts that aren't pertinent. The roots are sharing things like nudges, sensations, knowings, and it's tapping into the remembering that is already within us. Okay, I feel like I should share this really quick too, and then we'll do all the things I said. I know that I have wisdom in me because of some of the things I know about time. So bear with me for a little bit. If I totally lose you here, just hang on and then we'll get back to fun stuff. I'm going to go way out and then we'll bring it back, okay? Because of what I know about time, I know that we experience time as linear, but that doesn't mean that time is only linear. I think I'm 35, but there are, on the timeline, I will be 100 at one point, and there was a point when I was a baby, right? We'll just take it, just our life, right? And I know that not everything that experiences time experiences it linearly the way that I do. So I believe that I believe that there's a God, and I believe that God can see all time at once. And it's more of like a circle, but we don't need to go into the circle part. He can see all of time at once. He and she can see all of time at once. It's all present at the same time. Okay? So this means that there is some version of me that's already 100 or 80 or whatever, that's already sitting on my front porch, that has a bunch of grandkids around me, or that, you know, has lived this life that's full of wrinkles and wisdom from lived experience, and can look back and say, oh yeah, when you were so stressed out about that, like, oh, wait till the next thing that came. Or like, oh my gosh, you made such a big deal out of that, like it really turned out so beautifully, see? And all of that, right? I also believe that there's a 3,000 year from now version of me. I don't just only exist on this planet. And so that 3,000 year from now version of me is also happening now according to the way God sees time, right? So that means it's already happening. It's already there. It's already there for me to tap into. When we think of remembering, we think of, you know, recalling events that happened in our past. But why remember? So we take that event and we bring it back into our member, right? But why can't we do that with future things? We get real tricky when we're like trying to predict hard facts, tangible things, when we're trying to, you know, kind of manipulate or control our journey. If we're not really seeking to understand the greater plan at play, then we kind of get stuck, right? Like, you know, this is where you see kind of like cheesy psychic ratings and stuff like that, that people don't really take a lot of stock into, and you know, that sort of thing. Or you find people super frustrated because it's like, well, then tell me when I'm supposed to win the lottery or whatever, right? But when we go to seek for wisdom, not knowledge, but wisdom, we can remember a lot. And I'm here to just tell you, I know that because I've experienced it. And I'm not here to tell you that so that you think I should be your guru. I'm here to tell you that so that you go try to be your own guru. You go try it out for yourself. So wait a second, right? Okay, and then I probably have existed for thousands of whoever knows how long of years before this too. And all of that wisdom lives in me. It already has happened. It's also happening now. It is all there. It all lives in me right now. So when I say wisdom, that's what I'm talking about. Like, we have deep wisdom, guys. Just give you a minute. Take that in. Be with that. We have deep wisdom in us. And that wisdom wants to guide us on our path, into our purpose, into our fulfillment, into our heaven on earth experience. Does that land? So I always just say, take what I say, plant it like a seed, see if it resonates, see if it grows, see if you love it, see what comes of it, and see what other, you know, truths blossom for you, within you, about you. Okay. I'll invite you to close your eyes. Just get real still and then tap in yourself to the part of you that feels like your truest self. part of you maybe that contains all that wisdom. Where does that part of you reside? Where can you feel it in your body? And I'll say that typically it resides somewhere between your throat and the base of your spine, somewhere in your torso. You can just sort of like feel into that, play with that, and it's characterized generally by a sense of peace. So when you feel it, you know, you've aligned, you're there, you've aligned into that place because you feel peace. And maybe you don't notice it today. Maybe this is just a practice. Like, can that be okay? Can you extend that grace and space for yourself to try again? Just play with this. You're breathing. And again, it feels like peace. Did you know you could feel peace no matter what was going on around you? I go there and I ask questions. And because I believe in a God and I believe in Christ and I believe, like, I want answers that aren't just coming from know-it-all me. I want answers that are aligned. I believe all that wisdom is in alignment with God. And if it's not, and if I got it wrong or I misinterpreted it or I whatever, I trust myself enough and my wisdom to know that I'll guide myself back again. I'll feel it. I'll be like, oh, this doesn't feel right, because I do this often enough that then I just know it's okay. There's grace, there's space. I'm also human. Okay, that's it. That's the practice. I'll go there and I'll ask questions. That's often what I'm doing, guiding my clients to go in there and ask questions that they have. The question is how, wait a minute, do I want to keep it that vague? Let's ask it a little bit more clear. At the intersection of my relationships and business, how can I access my power more? So this will be one of those things that overlaps. We're looking for what's a thing that overlaps and where can I access my power more around that. The intersection of my relationships and business, right? Because everything's related. How can I access my next level of power? First, web working. Oh, I love this one. I love this one. Okay, I'm going to be really fast. That's not my strength. Web working. Oh, okay. All right. So what I'm getting for you is remembering that they are interconnected, but it's less about like if I'm suffering in one place, I have to be suffering in the other place. It's more about like where can I weave magic in both places? And remembering also that as you are working to create what you're working to create, that you already are the web, right? So I am the weaver of the web. I am like there creating, right? And I also am already the web. I'm connected to all things. And the things I desire to create already are present through me. And ultimately, what you're creating is you. So everything is connected. Everything is connected. That would be my invitation for you, is to take that and ponder on how is everything connected. And the more that you are able to access the flow in your marriage, the more you'll be able to access the flow in your business and vice versa. So focusing on that ease of flow. Okay, I hope that landed. Oh, love it, love it. I'm glad that resonates. As I shuffle these cards and get ready for this next card pull, I want to share with you guys The Authentic Feminine is a really beautiful space, and we have carefully curated it and brought in leaders from all over the world to bring in wisdom. See, what happened before when I ran my first couple of groups is I was up leveling like crazy, and then I would receive beautiful things about the feminine, and I would try to give them to my clients too, and it felt like a trickle compared to this like whoo that I was receiving. And I realized I think that's because the feminine way doesn't just have one leader. I brought in all these leaders to help support and uplift each other. Even clients step into leadership, and vice versa. Leaders step into clientship. It's a really, really beautiful space, but it's a space where we're all focused on leadership and influencing the world in some capacity. And we're also all deeply rooted in our relationships and healing our intimacy. And we have conversations about sex all the time, and spirituality, and the intersection of all these things, and really what it looks like to lead in this new world. And if any of that resonates with you, I would love for you to come in and be supported and held in that space with us. It's a deep commitment. It's a year long. 10 months, but right now it's a year, because if you miss the beginning, I'm offering a bonus all the way until June 13th, where you get 2 months for free. And so, which is a tremendous value. Please reach out to me, send me a DM, and we would love to have you in this space with us. Okay, the card is Juxtapositions, which is really similar to like paradox, juxtaposition. And so what comes through here with this is, oh yeah, okay, well, and I have the benefit of like actually having knowledge about a lot of what's going on for you, but this is going to feel so different. This next layer of your leadership is going to feel so different, because you have like you're used to like making it happen, right? But now you have a baby, and all of that like changes stuff, and you're a mom, and you've got complicated like stuff, right? So being able to, what's key in this is being able to expand your feminine container, your container, to be with the paradox, to be with the juxtapositions, it's like, I guess in a tangible way, if I could say, it's like sobbing your eyes out because, your breast milk is drying up or whatever, right? With your kid, or, you're so frustrated with something happening at home, or whatever it is. And then like being like, okay, now I'm going to go and serve on a call with a client, and still being true to you, like being able to show up with your eyes red and whatever, and like, this is life, this is how I'm leading now, it doesn't have to look a certain way. And so that's what comes through for me with you, and then inviting you to show up that way in your marriage as well, to be so seen, to be and in fact with yourself, because the more you do it with yourself, the more you can do it with him, to be like, yeah, I'm a goddess and I'm also a mess, and it's both, and it's beautiful. Next, I got Ritual for you. Oh, don't you love this card? I love how there's like grit in the nails. Okay, what comes through with Ritual? Give me a moment. You're actually very feminine, because you are always in the flow. And like when I picture you, I think about like atoms or molecules when they like heat up, and you're just like all over, all over, all over. And so rituals are actually kind of a masculine practice. We think of them as feminine because anciently like women practiced rituals, and now they're kind of coming back, right? But it's actually not a new age thing. It's actually a really ancient thing, and rituals are a way to make consistency meaningful. like bring purpose into consistency. And so the invitation for you is to bring in some more consistency in your life, but in such a way that it's purposeful. Like not just doing the same things because people told you to, whether that's like get up and read your scriptures every morning, or or reach out to 5 people a day to sell your product or whatever it is. Like, don't do something if it doesn't feel good to you. A ritual is meant to feel very purposeful and meaningful. And honestly, I think that's kind of some of what we've lost in our rituals. Do what feels really meaningful to you. And if that means like you have a consistent time every day, but you do something different in that time every day, or whatever, you can work it however you want, but that's the invitation. It's ritual and consistency. Oh, so interesting. Oh. I pulled up this abandonment card for you. These cards, that's why I love these cards, is because they're not just all like, frilly, floofy. Like, they're real. There's depth. So this is really interesting. Oh, I forgot to say this too, but like notice what you notice about the card too. As I read this card to you, like notice what things stand out to you, and go back to your intuition and ask like what resonates with me about this, or like what's the wisdom in this for me. So abandonment is one of those really interesting ones. And what comes through for me with you is to actually teach on this, that we always associate abandonment with bad. But actually, it depends on your perspective, right? Like if you were constantly engaged in cigarette smoking and one day you just abandoned the addiction, that would be a good kind of abandonment, right? Where it can also have really painful aspects to it, right? Like me as a child being abandoned on the side of the road in the desert. That's a painful part of abandonment. And whether it brings pain or like light and goodness and comfort, like or celebration or whatever, always in abandonment there's a space for the new. And so the invitation here for you, okay, that's like super clear, where you're rearranging so much in your life, and you've made so much space for the new in your life. So there's an invitation to actually let go of some things that no longer serve. And they might even be beautiful things. They might even be things that are like, I love those things, but it's time to release them. I always love to hear, share in the comments how these resonate with you, and what you take from them. Because again, it's like take what serves you. This is affordances. So I drop into this for you. Okay, what comes through here? There's this little caterpillar on this leaf, and the caterpillar has a lot of leaf to go. Like he's gonna eat the whole leaf. He has a lot of leaf to go. And there's something about like feeling like the funnel is small. Like there's so much available to me. There's abundance and excess available to me, but the funnel is small. Just like the caterpillar's mouth is small, but boy, caterpillars eat a ton before they go into their cocoon stage. It's like crazy. So the invitation here is to change the way, well, energetically, I'm feeling like we need to just remove the funnel. Like I keep seeing a funnel, and it's like for you, love is like drip, 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 and abundance, like other forms of abundance, material, etc., is like drip, drip, drip because the funnel. So we just need to remove the funnel and shift the perspective, because he's still experiencing abundance. Like he literally has the whole leaf and it's massive. But then to us, like to my eye, a caterpillar on a leaf is tiny. And so it's like shift the perspective, shift the perspective, shift the funnel, get it out of there, create a different vessel and see yourself as a different vessel. I did this imagery once, and this is the one that's coming to mind. It was like a guided meditation where you stood in a river. You pictured yourself standing in a river and receiving from every part of you. The river went completely over your head through every single part of you. And then you could just take what serves and let the rest go down the river. So I'll just invite you to implant that imagery and new experience. And again, love to hear how that lands for you. Oh, this is so fun. Courage. I love this for you. Courage. Actually, I don't feel like anything else even needs to be said. It's courage. One of the things I love about this card is that the like cardinal directions are there, and the north is highlighted with like potentially the northern star or whatever, and how much courage it takes for us to follow our true north, which different belief systems use different language around that, like follow the spirit, follow your faith, follow the nudges, follow the promptings, follow the downloads. Like all of that is the same thing in my world, and it all takes courage. And so that's the invitation. So listen to those nudges and then do the courageous thing, which I feel like very strongly applies in your marriage and in your business. All right, my loves, thank you for spending this time with me. Again, please come and join us in the Authentic Feminine. This is an incredible opportunity. Over this next month, I'll be extending this bonus offer where you get 2 months free. I'll put that link in the comments so that you can go check out that link if you haven't done so already, and book a call with me if you're curious about it, or if you're afraid of the like financial commitment or whatever. Book a call with me. We can talk about all of that. Like I so get how that can be and how that can feel, and a big commitment and stuff as well, the length of time and all of that. But man, I hope that you walk away knowing your wisdom, knowing that the truth is in you, that's how God speaks to you, that you have a vast universe inside of you, and it's not all that far away from you to actually access that in your next moment and in your next step and the next one and the next one, whether it's about sex or whether it's about talking to your husband or whether it's about making a presentation in front of thousands of people or anything in between. Like we were meant to live a life of purpose and fulfillment, and that's available to us. And I don't think we can do it alone. I think we're meant to go together. So come and join us. Reach out to me if you have questions. I'd love to talk to you more about all of that. And stay tuned. We have huge announcements, and we're having a huge Authentic Feminine event in the group over the next month that officially starts on the 12th. And lots of, I think lots of sharing and beauty and stuff, and lots of opportunities if you're, a service provider, business owner, to share some of your heart and your story and your journey. We want to hear from all of you. Love you guys so much. Bye.